Good afternoon. Welcome to Anita Talks History and Genealogy, and happy continuing Black History Month to everyone. Yes, I am Afro-Indigenous, and yes, I have a great-great-grandmother who was brought over as a slave from Guinea, West Africa. I acknowledge her just like I acknowledge my indigenous ancestors who are also enslaved and brought to these United States from South America and from the Caribbean. So our history here is diverse. We have a varied history. So when I say I'm Afro-Indigenous, please do not send me a comment stating I either have to be one or the other, because I am both. And I honor my ancestors. I honor their struggles, their history. And that is who I am. I exist because of them. But today, on February the 16th, I want to bring up another topic that has to do with our people's enslavement here in the United States and in Africa, in the diaspora. And before I get started, let me give a disclaimer that this is me, this is my opinion, how my worldview, how I see things. You don't have to see them this way. You don't have to agree with me. But please listen to what I'm saying. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And also check out my merchandise. And I am going to come on with some new merchandise pretty soon. But this is how we keep the channel going, how we keep spreading our message and speaking to our people, those of us who have the ears to hear, those of us who have the eyes to see, and those of us who are not being fooled by the trickery that's going on in front of us. It's their trickery. It's not us. It's not a part of us. And we're getting so smart. We are so intelligent. So are our young people, that we're not being fooled by the circus that's going on around us. And what I'm speaking on today is reparations. Hear me out. I'm sick of people from my community saying, oh, don't bother, because they're not going to give us reparation. In the first place, they took it from us. It was already given to us, the little 40 acres and a mule that they turned around and stole back. Okay? The other thing about reparations is it's not coming from some little poor YTE folk in rural America and are living in a red state. It's not coming from some immigrant that just came here maybe 3 or 4 generations ago. It's not coming from you. It's owed to us by the federal government. And it's owed to us by those corporations that still exist today that benefited from us being enslaved. One of them is Wells Fargo Bank. The other one is Lloyd's of London. And I'm speaking about these people who are still in existence today from our ancestors suffering. Let me tell you a little about great-grandmother Leah, who was brought here, who was stolen from Guinea, West Africa. Nowhere in her story does she tell anything, when she's telling the story, does she say that any African person had anything to do with her being enslaved. She said the slavers came and took us, her and the other children. They were mining gold in Guinea, West Africa, and the slavers came. And she said they took them 5 miles down road to a Dutch ship and put them in the ship and held them there. So I'm guessing they were also putting gold on that ship, because this was 1830 and it was actually illegal to sell African slaves in the United States. So what they did, they took that Dutch ship, took the passage, took them on a passage to Bermuda, and they were left there. I don't know how long she was left there, but they were eventually, they took them there for seasoning. This is not going to be a pretty story. It's not a romance story. It's ugly and it's dirty, but I want to tell it because I want you to understand this was happening to millions of our people, okay? So they were left there and they were seasoned and then taken. She was sold at the auction block of Charleston as a Caribbean slave, because this was 1830 or so. So she was 12. It was 1830 when she was 12 years old when this passage started. I don't know how old she was when they sold her on an auction block in Charleston, South Carolina. And the person who purchased her was Robert Ruth. And he took her, probably some others too, to his plantation at Beaufort, South Carolina. And she remained there until about 1850. And during that time, she bore him 4 children, 4 half-white children, mulatto, including my great-great-grandfather. She was brutalized, raped. She said that all of her black children, so that there was nothing but women on that plantation, nothing but slave women. I didn't see the name of any men on that plantation, except for the males who were the children of the women. And he probably was impregnating all of them, but he was not successful. He was not successful because he, in 1857, when great-grandfather Ruth, Samuel, was sold with his siblings, he told my great-grandfather that they had to be sold because he owed back taxes. So he was not a good slave owner. He was not a good breeder. Sound like he would anyway. But in 1857, when my great grandfather was 7 years old, they sold him and his 3 siblings to Savannah, Georgia. So and they sold her, Leah. Her name was Leah. To Hilton Head. So she was a part of the Gullah Geechee community. And she actually did well there because she met her husband. She called him Mr. Warner. I don't know when they met, but she had 2 children by him. And I don't know how she knew, but she knew where her children who were sold were. It may have been, because Hilton Head, maybe some of the slaves were traveling around, riding wagons and carrying, their white owners. But she knew that they were in Savannah. And so she and her husband, Mr. Warner, had 2 children. And so she had a life there, even though she was a slave. But she had someone who loved her and who she loved. And on the Hilton Head, she wasn't being forced to have children or being raped repeatedly by the white man who owned her. So this was a plantation, and as long as they did their work, most of them were, you know, uh, they were of course not treated. It's not freedom. But it was the closest to freedom they were going to get. And Leah even spoke of being whipped when they were going into the fields in the morning. She had to endure being whipped by the white man, who she called Mr. Fields. They were going in the fields, so she didn't know his name, but she called him Mr. Fields. So they were still being brutalized. But at the end of the day, she was with her husband. And she was there when the Civil War came, and eventually she was taken north to Philadelphia, to Pennsylvania, with our great-grandfather, Samuel Ruth. He took the time to find his mother, and he went around 1896 or so. He went back to Hilton Head and found his mother. She was a widow then, and one of her children had been killed, Georgie. She called him Georgie. She said they killed Georgie. But her daughter, Isabella, had married and, left. So she was there, and when he went down, he brought her back to Pennsylvania. And so she was in Mitchellville. There's a place on Hilton Head called Mitchellville, and that's where great-grandmother Leah was. But her story that we knew, I learned it from my mother. My mother learned it from her mother, who was great-grandmother Leah's granddaughter. And her name was Leah too. That was my grandmother, Leah Ruth Martin. So it was passed down from her, the granddaughter, to my mother, to me. And so I pass it down to my daughter and my children. We keep her memory alive. And you're going to tell me that I should be ashamed for demanding reparations for the suffering that great-great-grandmother Leah went through. I should just back off, leave it alone, and be grateful that we are free. We're not free. We're not free. They have not apologized for enslaving our people. And the reason they're not apologizing is because they intend to do it again. Do you see where DJT is going? This man is going from state to state, purchasing large warehouses to store human beings in my humble opinion. That's what he's doing. There's a federal prison up here. It was a women's prison that they closed here in California. And the belief is that they're going to use that, because they're not sending all of the immigrants back. They're keeping some of them, especially if they consider them able-bodied. Or do you actually think that these YTE folks are going to work in the fields, are going to do hard labor? They haven't been doing hard labor. Why would they start now? And so my thing about reparations is that for us who have any common sense to reach out to the people, to the countries in Africa that are fighting back against colonization and neo-colonization, and join with them, and that we form a blockade, that we have them demand that they not do any business with the former enslavers of our people until they pay reparations, not only to us, but to Africa, to the diaspora, to the people, to the African descendants in the Caribbean, wherever they are, in Brazil, that we demand reparations not as not as us from the United States, or those just from individual Caribbean islands, or those from Brazil on their own, or those from Africa on their own, but all of us form an organization, an international organization, and put pressure on these people to apologize, to change their ways, and to pay reparations. And what am I saying? Don't tell me they don't have the money to pay it. How many billions of dollars was given to Argentina? How many trillions of dollars are they using for the military? Think about it. These are our tax dollars. They have been taxing us for 400 years, and we have yet to receive anything back from those taxes. Everything we had came from our blood and sweat, blood, sweat, and tears, and came about because of our own ingenuity or our own talents or gifts. You know, we have people who are Olympic stars here. We have people who are scientists. We have people who are mathematicians, who are doctors, who are lawyers. Not because this country helped them, because of their own dynamic intellect, their intelligence, and their ingenuity, and their creativity. We did it with nothing. But we want reparations, and I'm saying that if we don't continue to demand it, whether it happens in my lifetime or not, I do not really, I'm not tripping about that. What I'm saying is that my descendants, my future generations, will have no life if these people are able to bring in Project 2025. They want to turn back the clock and enslave my children and my grandchildren. And we cannot sit idly by and just say, oh, well, you know, maybe they'll get a conscience. They're not going to get a conscience. It's 400 years. They haven't gotten one yet. They have gotten greedier, more deceptive. And please don't come on here and say that's not me. If it's not you, don't respond. If you respond, I'm going to assume it's you. Okay? I'm talking to the people, the African leaders, and begging you not to work with DJT. Why is there a military base in Nigeria? Why? Why won't they leave the AES alone? Why are they bothering the leaders of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? Why? They're not bothering Europe. They're not bothering France. They're not bothering the United States. So what does DJT do? He goes and speaks to a weak leader in Nigeria and sets up and sends the military over there. For what? But he will not sit down with us and talk about reparations here in the United States. This is the same man who is here in the United States removing any history of slavery, removing any African American books out of the schools. He is calling African nations, calling shithole countries. Do you guys understand while you're sitting down with this man how he despises African people and people of African descent? He thinks in his mind that you owe him. Well, he thinks the whole world owes him. There's nobody in DJT's world or universe except him. Everything is going around DJT in his mind. The entire universe, the planets. Boy, is he going to be in for a surprise when when his time comes. When whoever calls evil back, when that dark hole opens up and sucks him in, he's going to be really surprised. But in the meantime, this is Black History Month. We're honoring our ancestors, and we're standing up for our ancestors. We're demanding reparations from this country that has stolen so much from us, trying to steal our souls, trying to steal our history, trying to block us off from being a part of this country that we built, our blood, sweat, and tears. Okay, our ancestors. And on the land that my indigenous ancestors lived on for thousands of years and that was stolen from them, that was taken after they welcomed these strangers in. And I hope that we learn a lesson not to welcome every stranger is not to be welcomed in. Some of them should be left to the elements. This is my opinion. How I feel today is Black History Month. There's a 250th anniversary coming up July the 4th. My ancestors were in the Revolutionary War, and DJT has removed most of the participation of those like my ancestors who were people of color who were in the Revolutionary War. He wants to whitewash it. He wants to whitewash the Revolutionary War, the Civil War. I had ancestors in the Civil War. I have ancestors in the War of 1812. We have been here. We were here before slavery, before colonization. We had a history. And the greatest way to express history is for someone to come to your land and the rivers are clean, the air is fresh, there is all kinds of trees and plants, there's all kinds of food and game. That's the history that they have eliminated. They have come and polluted the land that over thousands of years my ancestors made sure were pristine so that we could live a good life, so that their descendants could live a good life. It's the same in Africa. They have gone to Africa and polluted Africa for the gold. There's huge holes in the ground in Africa, like citywide holes, because the greedy Europeans go over there and suck up the gold and the mineral wealth and just leave it polluted. It pollutes the rivers. It pollutes the land. The animals die off. The soil dries up. That is what they are doing to Mother Earth. Do you all get it? So don't say, don't ask for reparations. They're not going to give it to us. No, don't ask, demand. And don't shut up until you get it. So, that's my spiel for today. I'm trying to give, I'm trying to tell our people to rise up. Stop letting these people use us as pawns, because then you become Satan's pawns. And you are not in the light anymore. Once you become their pawn, you you are walking in the darkness that they're walking in. You're walking behind them in the darkness, and the light no longer exists. And we have to remember that. We are a people. We are a godly people. And we are guided by Creator, by Yeshua, the real, true Christ, by the light of all of the people who have gone before us. So let's stay in the light. And we can and will continue to demand for reparations and to demand that those leaders in Africa join with us. We form our own international commission. And if they don't want to admit they were wrong, to apologize, to change their ways, to pay reparations, then we just don't do business with them. That's what I'm saying. Don't do business with your enemy. They do not have our best interests at heart. So thank you for listening to me, and I hope that, my message is received as it was sent to you. It's sent out of love for my people, my country, my culture. And God bless and stay well.